They're a lot smarter than I am.
When you team up a major cold front with low water, you have the makings of a tough tournament. And that's what we have today here on the mighty Mississippi River near Alton, Illinois. But tough conditions are nothing new on the Bassmaster Tournament Trail. These pros will figure out how to meet the challenge, regardless of weather or fishing conditions. You can bet on it. And you'll see what one angler does to pocket a $35,000 first place check. Stay tuned. I'm Bob Cobb. The Bassmasters will be right back from the Bassmaster Illinois Invitational.
Opening round of the $188,000 Bassmaster Illinois Invitational on the Mississippi and Illinois rivers near Alton, Illinois. It's fall, that time of year when conditions can change quickly, and they have. 3 days ago, the anglers started practice in humid 90-degree weather. But that was then. Today, a major cold front has invaded the area, plunging temperatures nearly 50 degrees. For most of the 300 Bassmasters competing here from 34 states and Mexico, the conditions are about as tough as they get. Besides weather, low water is a problem. On the Mississippi, the water is about 1.5 feet low. This prevents the competitors from reaching several backwater areas which are known to hold good numbers of largemouth bass. Many of these Bassmasters pre-fish the Mississippi and Illinois during the summer, and several pros reported great fishing, but that was 3 months ago. However, Florida's Bernie Schultz is quick to connect this first morning. He's fishing the Mississippi on the Missouri side.
We're fishing 3 days, I don't know how to act.
Mississippi angler Mike Bingham also scores early. The area he's fishing is a shallow flat on the Illinois River. The water here is less than 2 feet deep. While there are a few feeder creeks on this river system, most of the fishermen opt to stay on the main rivers or in small bays. They're fishing for 5 bass, the daily creel limit. Minimum length for this tournament is 12 inches. Mexico's Raul Moreno also scores this first morning. Well, sorta. For sure, it would have measured over the foot-long size limit.
Sorry. He's long enough to be too long, you know?
Even though the pickings are slim at this first day weigh-in, someone will always bring a bag of bass to the scales, like this one.
Woo Days of Virginia has broke the code. Come aboard, big man.
Woo! Just glad to be here. I had more bites today than I've had up here in a month. I guess in my life in this state.
It's obviously the limit. Weighs 11 pounds, 1 ounce, so we got a new leader. Great catch, Woo.
4-time world champion Rick Clunn moves into 8th place and assesses the situation here.
5 pounds, 6 ounces. Now, I know you like tough tournaments. I know you like real tough tournaments. What's the story that's going on?
Well, I do like tough ones, and I got one here. So I feel like when I flew the lake in practice, I flew the lake. I feel like the problem we're having is about 50% of the water we really can't get to because the river's low. So the rest of the water that we can get to is getting a lot of traffic, got hit real hard in practice. So the fish are not going to, they may be stupid once, but they're not stupid twice, and they're just a little bit harder to catch after us fishing for them, for 3 days of practice. And we're going to have to work to catch them. I don't think it's going to be easy at all.
The Bassmasters will be right back from the Bassmaster Illinois Invitational near Alton, Illinois. Stay tuned. Day 2 of the Bassmaster Illinois Invitational. Clear and cold. But the weather is forecast to improve throughout the day. Hopefully the catching will be better too. Yesterday, 300 anglers weighed in only 259 bass. Downriver, this morning's leader, Woo Daves, explains what he's doing.
I'm just pitching a Mr. Twister worm up in the edge of the grass, about 18 inches of water, catching a couple off of wood. Mainly just making a lot of casts and hoping to hit the right spot.
Texas Bassmaster David Wharton, in 4th place, gives his opinion for the unusually slow fishing.
Fish seem to be really turned off so far this morning. Yesterday we had a lot of little bait fish activity up in the shallow water around the cover of the little grass patches and stuff. Today we really hadn't seen that. Also hadn't had a bite yet this morning, so we're gonna keep on fishing here. Hopefully later on today, as it warms up a little bit, maybe they'll get going.
There's so many places in this grass they can be, and it's hard to get the worm down in it. A lot of times you cast the worm over there, but it doesn't sink. The times you get it to go down, you kind of get in a little deal where you make 10 or 15 pitches and don't get the worm to sink a single time. Then all of a sudden you kind of get where everything starts working good and it'll go down every cast for a while, and that's usually when you get a fish.
Woo is catching bass this second morning. With a 3-pound lead coupled with slow fishing, every keeper bass is a big bonus. But weight is what makes the scales go down. While some contenders, like Joe Yates of Arkansas, are still catching bass, for the most part, fishing is dead.
Second keep. Shoot. Yep.
But the leader scores again. Woo Daves has been in position before to win his second BASS tournament, but has always stubbed his toe. He wants this one badly. It's been over 15 years. In the off-color water, most of the fishermen are casting plastic worms or spinnerbaits. While the water seems murky to those who haven't fished here, the local anglers say this watercolor is about normal. Low water, not watercolor, is the problem. Former Bassmasters Classic champ Paul Elias, paired today with the leader Woo Daves, finally connects. It's Paul's first fish in 2 days.
Miracle.
Weigh-in time, and the leader comes to the scales.
11-1 yesterday, 4 bass today. Let's get the weight right quick. Ooh, that's going to push you back up into the lead with 5 pounds, 6 ounces. You're right back on the top, Boo. What does it look like for tomorrow?
I still think I can catch 5 or 6 pounds tomorrow if everything goes right.
Obviously, the cold front didn't bother your fish. Is it the fact that you've got a little patch of fish there that you're working on, and that's what's paying off, or have you been moved around some?
Well, I got 2 patches, 2 about 150-yard stretches, and I got there this morning. There was 4 boats on one and 3 on the other one. So I backed up and started a couple hundred yards back and picked up a couple fish. And then as they moved on, I moved back in the area because I'm doing something a little different from everybody else, and I can still catch one now and then. And they left a couple today. I hope 2 or 3 there tomorrow.
Good luck tomorrow, Woo. I know that you can put them in the boat, buddy. It's been a long time since you won one of these things. You've been flirting with it for several tournaments now.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. After practice, if I don't catch any more, I'm still tickled to death.
The final round of the Bassmaster Illinois Invitational, and Woo Daves retains his 3-pound advantage. At the checkout this morning, Woo confided he was apprehensive about today. Too many fishermen and not enough bass to go around. We'll learn the outcome when the Bassmasters return. Stay tuned. Tournament leader Woo Daves scores quickly this last day of the Bassmaster Illinois Invitational. He knows he needs to catch fish to win this tournament. He's bearing down, but the pressure is mounting. It's tough to hold the lead for 3 days. The other contenders are falling back, but Joe Yates in 4th place has one. Oops. The final tally, weigh-in time. Does Wu have it?
All right, here's Wu Daves, who's led this tournament for 2 days. He's trying to hang on to it. It's going to be a tough chore. 2 pounds, 6 ounces.
Called one 10 minutes after I started this morning. I called one 10 minutes before I came in. So I could have slept about 7 or 8 hours out there and been rested up for the drive home.
What technique works best for you?
Well, I used a Mr. Twister 8-inch June bug, banana worm, and I used a little Wu worm. And I caught about 4 fish on the Wu worm and the rest of them on the big worm. And I found in the fall on rivers that generally I catch better fish with an 8-inch worm for some reason. I like my little 4-inch worm. You know, that's what I've used in all the classics and everything. But this particular tournament on the river, I just like the big worm, and it's paid off.
Well, that's contrary to what some other people said that have been up here. They said they went with the short worms and felt. Why do you feel like the big worms more effective?
Well, just in fall fishing in rivers, I don't think it's better in the spring, but in the fall, I fish a lot of rivers, and I've always had a lot of success with a bigger worm.
Well, you're going to have to sweat a while. You're still out front. They've got to catch you, and it's been, I think, since 1975 that you've won one of these. You do, buddy.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about coming up the river, even if I don't win. I'm sure you're familiar with Harry Gant, race car driver, and he finished second in like 16 races before he ever won one. And he's 51 years old now, and he's won 6 races in a row, so I've still got 6 years before I catch him, so I might win one before this thing's over with yet.
I hope it's today, Wu. You deserve it. Wu, Wu, Wu.
For the leader in the club room, Wu Daves, the next hour will be an eternity. All he can do is sweat and fret as the challengers make their bids. But one by one, the top contenders fade, like Joe Yates,
They're a lot smarter than I am.
Texan Randy Behringer, and Rob Kilden, whose 4-pound, 4-ounce tournament lunker won't do it. Was the agony of waiting worth it?
The winner of the Illinois Invitational is Wu Daves of Virginia with a total weight of 18 pounds, 13 ounces. Wu, it's been a long time, since 1975, since we've had the honor to present you a trophy. You certainly earned it under the most difficult conditions. Let's hear it again for the champion of the Illinois Invitational.
Wu Daves, champion of the Bassmaster Illinois Invitational. For him and his wife, Patty, the weight's been worth $35,000. For nearly a quarter of a century, the Bass Angler Sportsmen's Society has been the leader in catch-and-release bass tournament fishing. After weigh-in, the bass are quickly returned to the water. Now there's a new aspect to this important conservation measure, the Shimano Live Release Boat. BASS Tournament Director Dewey Kendrick explains the innovation.
Now, we've been experimenting and doing research over the years on the best way to handle tournament-caught bass. And we've designed our tank system, a very elaborate tank system with aeration systems, cooling the water temperature down with ice, adding chemicals. We've disallowed nets in our tournaments. We've done many things over the years to help the survival rate of tournament-caught fish. And the addition of the Shimano release boat has just added to that aspect of fish survival.
With any change in procedure, there are questions. How does this catch-and-release boat work? Why is it better than the traditional method of releasing tournament-caught bass?
It's real simple on how it works. We got a 24-foot pontoon boat, just like any other boat. We built a 400-gallon tank on it. It's an aquarium, so to speak. It has recirculation aeration in it. It's got an air pump with diffuser hoses that puts millions of tiny air bubbles in the water. So when the fish come in from being weighed, they directly go into this tank, and it's just supercharged full of oxygen. We have the catch and release chemicals in here that help replace slime coats. It's got a lot of healing agents in it, where like the hook marks or one got damaged in handling, the slime coat's replaced, the healing agents help it heal better. And we also have sloped floors in the bottom, so when we pull the trap doors, there's no hang up. The fish go right on out the bottom. Once they're in the tank, unless I have to doctor them or work on them, they're never touched again. The handling is what really stresses the fish the most.
The only time the bass are handled again is when Jerry Moon must aid those fish caught from deep water. A sudden change in depth from, say, 40 feet to the surface sometimes inflates the bass's air bladder, in effect creating a balloon, preventing it from swimming back deep. Jerry deflates the air bladder by simply inserting a hollow needle under a scale and into the air sac, allowing the air to escape. It works.
And there she goes. Isn't that neat?
I found over the years that if you release 2,000 or 3,000, 4,000 fish at one tournament site, a lot of times you have a lot of the locals come in the day after we leave and start fishing for them. And it's really not fair for the fish because there's just a certain amount of food in one location for these fish. And if you put an overabundance of fish in that area, then they're really going to bite anything that's thrown out there for them. And we were concerned, too, about relocating bass from one area of a lake to another.
The other problem we had, especially in the summertime, is the water, surface water, what we fill on is hotter than what the fish came out of. So we have a refrigeration unit built into this tank. Right here, these blue dividers has seamless copper tubing in here that's the Freon's compressed through. It actually refrigerates the water. By dropping it 8 degrees, you don't want to drop it like 20 degrees. That's a shock on the fish when you put him in there. So if you drop it like 8 degrees, put the fish in here, he becomes accustomed to that. Then when he goes back in the water, he finds his own temperature. He's not in shock when you release him again. Our first boat 4 years ago was just a pontoon boat with a tank on it, and we dipped the fish back out. But by hiring underwater divers and cameras where we could study the film of what that fish actually did, 12 hours, 24 hours after you released them, we've learned it's not only how you handle the fish here. We've got it pretty well down to state of the art now, but by knowing where you release the fish and in what conditions in water, you'd think on bass, we'll put them back in a heavy weed bed. We found it's really the wrong thing to do because they just stay bunched up. If you'll get adjacent to a weed bed or say a hump out here in the middle of the lake, where the fish came from, if you'll drop them adjacent to that in good, deep, clean, clear water, more of them are going to live. Well, Shimano wanted to do something for all fishermen, and even though it's very expensive to pull these boats around all over the country, and we're going to wind up with 8 or 10 of them here in the next year, and scattered out throughout the country in different areas. By providing this service free of charge to tournament organizers, it helps them, it helps the people around the local area because all the money that's generated into that area by having tournaments there, we handle to make sure the fish are handled properly, returned back to the lake where more of them live, so it's just an ongoing process. The fishing business is getting bigger every year. It has now for years, and we see no reason it won't continue. So we want to make sure the fish are going to be here for our kids and our grandkids.
Right now, it's time for the Pros Pointer, the how-to section of the Bassmasters. Brought to you by Wrangler, the most comfortable jeans known to man.
I use a little different approach from most of the bass fishermen out here when I'm pitching and flipping. I use a spin cast reel a whole lot at a time. Zebco 808, it's got plenty of backbone, fast retrieve, handle 20-pound test line. But I get a nice free fall with my lure nose. When I pitch the lure out, it hits the water, the line spins off the reel, and my lure drops straight down into the target area. A lot of times when I'm flipping with a bait caster, I have to thumb it down, and it tends to hang up and doesn't give a natural fall. Another real good advantage for the spin cast reel is if I come up on a dock or something, I can actually skip my lure way back under that dock. Just kind of bounce it off the water with a skip cast. If you'll watch the water right out here, I'm gonna hit it. You see how that worm jumped and went about 10 feet? If it had been a dock there, I could have skipped that worm way back under there, and this is something you can't do with a bait caster either, because when it hits the water, you've got to thumb it down right there, or you're going to have a backlash. So I can fish a dock a lot more efficiently, getting way back up under the nice little shady areas and stuff where a lot of the fishermen haven't been able to reach. You know, if you'll try pitching with a spin cast reel, I guarantee you'll catch more fish.
A well-deserved win for Wu Days. He's been so close so many times, but he picked a tough one to cash in. BSS tournaments are said to be the test of the best. But next week at Grand Lake in Oklahoma, it's a true survival tough guy fishing contest. Sub-freezing weather, frozen boat steerings, frozen reels, and frozen guides make it real tough. But the bass bite. Be on board with us. For the Bassmasters, I'm Bob Cobb. We'll see you all next week.
The Bassmasters has been brought to you by Ranger Boats. We still build them one at a time. DuPont Strand Fishing Lines. Abu Garcia, take it to the max. Johnson Outboards. Wouldn't it be nice if everything else were as dependable as a Johnson outboard? Chevy Trucks. More people are winning with the heartbeat of America.